What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso, joined as always by Connor Rogers. Bye-week edition. The sun's shining a little brighter. The grass is a little greener. The New York Jets have a win. The vibes are, dare I say, back a little bit, despite being 1-7. We're going to dig into whether that's a little copium or there's something to really be excited about. CR, how you doing? How you feeling? Great hat, as always.
Got to break out the hat when you can, right?
Yes.
After a nice victory Monday, I'm dragging it into victory Tuesday night here. And yeah, I would say the vibes are back. I think it's one of those things where you and I discussed this in the postgame that it didn't feel like a win that they necessarily just like fell into or was a rock fight of a game. There was a lot of positives for guys that really needed that kind of game. Besides, Fields is the obvious, but Olu needed that game. Breece Hall needed that game, to get some production out of the wide receivers like Tyler Johnson. So Isaiah Williams, which is I never in a million years saw that one coming. You see Glenn's energy in the locker room.
Yep.
And we've had our gripes with how Glenn has reacted to adversity with the media at times. But there is no denying, and this was one of the reasons you and I were pretty bullish on the hire, there is no denying a former high-level player like him can build a connection with players and rally a locker room. And you said it on Sunday, this team has not quit on him despite being 0-7 going into that game. So I think, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Jets are going to come out of the bye week and they're going to win 5 more games, but if you can kind of change the attitude and perception of this team, can you win, 2 of the 3 games that you're supposed to? And then can you steal one from someone?
In the division, please.
In the division, exactly please. Right. That makes you feel like, oh, okay, maybe this is a team that only won 4 games in the first year of Glenn's regime, but we actually feel good about building onto a second year.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's going to be consistency, right? I think right now, everyone is taking a breath and maybe in some areas overpraising certain things because the win is fresh. And I get that. And that's natural, right? Everything kind of feels right. You're like, oh, maybe we were too critical about these things. You have to judge the 7 losses against the 1 win while being fair that they were in some of those games and just couldn't close the door. What I am interested to see and want to see, can Armand Membou play a full great rookie season? Can he do 9 more games like that?
He's halfway there.
Can Olu build on a great game against the Bengals where, you put all things aside, if the Jets have 2 really good young tackles you feel good about, man, everything else is so much easier going forward. And I just feel good about the O-line as a whole going into next year because you have Tippmann and you could figure out the other few spots. You can get Myers back on the cheap. You could keep Simpson. You could consider bringing AVT back. Like the O-line, I think, is going to be good. And then for the rest of the rookie class, like I don't like falling into the, he drafted or he signed 9 starters. Being a starter on a 1-17 isn't the accomplishment, right? That's not what you're trying to get to. It's, can you actually be a good and productive starter? Like Mason Taylor is starting to look the part of a good and productive starter who could do certain things we haven't seen from a Jets tight end in a while. Can Malachi Moore get more consistent and keep getting better? And I think he will. If Rosario Thomas gets more reps, can he build on what I think was really a strong debut outside of like 1 or 2 reps? And, beyond that, like all these new guys, can you keep it up? Briggs, Phillips, Brownlee, who's been like a revelation and a fan favorite immediately after this trade. And I want to see how Garrett and Sauce could fit into all this, right? It's obviously funny and ironic. They won their first game without Garrett and without Sauce. This has happened without Sauce with the Eagles a few years back as well. How does it all look when they're back? And can they find something particularly on offense to build on where, I don't know, it feels more and more like they're going to keep Breece. This is, this is the clock's ticking. We're recording this Tuesday night. He's still here. Clearly that offer hasn't come. I'd say it's still 50-50.
I truly don't know. And I've said the Jets don't know.
I don't know if they know. I think they're waiting. They're waiting to they get that phone call. And, is it the Chiefs? Is it the Chargers? Is it the Cardinals? Like, why are the Cardinals trading for someone right now? They got Bam Knight, Michael Carter, and they're 2-5. So
that staff has to win, though, or else they're going to get fired. That's probably to answer your question.
So, that's going to be the most interesting thing to watch in my mind. Did they keep him? Is there any other trades? And then what does this offense look like if Fields can be the Pittsburgh fields and the Bengals fields for most of the rest of the season. You can evaluate the rest of the offense. You can get Garrett back. You can hopefully get some things going in rhythm. And I don't know. I said this a few weeks in a row. Every time I rewatch the Jet game, I feel better about their offensive scheme and structure. And I feel that there could be a path to this being a decent situation for a rookie quarterback because I like the offensive line. I like the offensive coordinator. We've liked him from the beginning of the summer. We've been consistent with that, even though he's had a couple down spots. And I think the play design each week shows that. You have Garrett. You might have Brees. You have a good complementary piece in Isaiah Davis, who finally got a little shine and some opportunities to get in the open field. You got a good young tight end. It looks like you got an okay number 2 tight end who's blocking his ass off. You know, you're 2 receivers away, in my mind, from putting it together because I like to think between Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith, and Isaiah Williams, that's your 4, 5, 6. You figure it out. Those guys are fine in those roles. You're two receivers away. So you rewatch the game. What did you think of the tape? And could this situation be all right, actually, for a Mendoza or a Simpson or whoever we end up talking about?
Right. I think the last part of that is going to depend on what they're able to do in the offseason. There's a lot of examples, like the high level or top level ones are, do the Colts really let an Alec Pierce walk out the door? And I would say most likely no. But to be fair, Shane Steichen's one of the best offensive minds in football. They've paid Michael Pittman. They drafted Tyler Warren early. They have Josh Downs. They drafted Adonai Mitchell with the day 2 pick a year ago. Maybe they go, hey, we'll take another deep threat in the draft. We'll save the 20 plus mil a year and we'll find a way to replace him because he has a concussion history and we're just that good at what we do. Most likely, I would think they keep him, but you have to start these conversations somewhere. He's like the perfect free agent for the Jets. We were talking, a lot of people were talking about, hey, if they ever thought about trading him because he's a big, deep threat. And my conversations with the Jets and wide receiver are going to completely center on getting a perimeter threat that can win down the field in contested situations and can run by people. There's a lot of smaller guys in the draft that are really good prospects, but I'm going to be focusing on the Carnell Tates of the world from Ohio State, Denzel Boston from Washington, Chris Bell from Louisville. Like, that's going to be Muji, assuming Muji, his number one thing. If you got to build this offense out for a rookie, Garrett's really good, and Garrett's only one man, but you need some kind of big physical perimeter threat as well, because having that big physical perimeter threat allows you to move Garrett around like the great offenses do. I mean, even watch the Chiefs the other night with Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice plays in the slot. He plays out wide. He comes out of the backfield. Like, that's what the Jets need to be doing with Garrett Wilson. And if you have an actual, almost just natural X wide receiver, or really just, you don't even need to pigeonhole them into roles, but more so just that ability to live on the perimeter, it kind of changes your creativity. So that's going to be a big part of getting this offense right. But outside of that, it's true. The Jets are not, Fields' struggles for a majority of the season do have the unfortunate trickle effect of making everybody else look significantly worse than what they are. That conversation got loud around the offensive line, and I was screaming back, stop tweeting sack numbers or quarterback hits or pressures when, you know, you look at an offense with a quarterback that's average time to throw is 2.2 seconds. You can't compare that left tackle to Olu Fashanu, who's trying to protect for 3.6 seconds. Like that's a different sport. So I'm with you that I'm a big believer in what they have on the offensive line, and they're going to have to figure out, do they pay Simpson? Do they try to keep AVT around? Is Tippmann the center? Is Myers back? Do they have to draft the center? Oh, but those are not really difficult problems if you've made it as far in your career as GM. Those are pretty minor league level issues. It's kind of moving cap allocation around and just figuring out who the staff wants to keep and who you can live without and what you can replace. And then, yeah, it just comes down to pass catcher. I mean, quite honestly, because it's not just one guy. I think the Jets should be going into next year, assuming they have a rookie quarterback, they should be going into camp with a free agent wide receiver that's a pro and a pick in the first 3 rounds. Like, honestly,
you need 2 meaningful weapon additions at receiver. You can't.
And as the strides Ruckert has made, he deserves a lot of credit for. But there might be a world where you do need a real road grader type of tight end for certain personnel packages. Right now, Brees is on the team, and we're going to assume Brees is on the team next year. But if Brees is not on this team, then you have a big hole at running back. But I'm with you. Continued signs of growth from the play caller, competent level passer. Figure out internally how you keep your offensive line in place, and the big swing is absolutely a pass catcher.
I kind of feel like if you don't trade Brees, you better be finding a way to keep him next year. Like the plan needs to be, okay, like we didn't trade him. We're going to give him the transition tag. We're going to give him the franchise tag. We're going to give him 2 years, $21 million with a second year option. Like that should actually come in short order if you don't trade him. So that's taken care of. And then you could say, all right, like we're actually going to keep Tippmann at guard. We'll pay Myers to come back, and then we'll pick between AVT and Simpson and figure it out. Those are options to have. And, you look at receiver, the names right now, and these names always change before the season the free agency starts, and other guys will become available. There'll be trade targets. You have Pierce, you have Romeo Doubs, you have Jacoby Myers, you have Dotson on the Eagles, who's now is like making plays, and they're probably not going to be able to allocate money to bring him back.
Small. I just don't want a small player, and I know that's so.
We need the Connor dad big guys coming off the bus.
I know it's so blunt and stubborn of me.
To be fair, Garrett is a smaller guy as a lead receiver. You need a power forward.
And you might even need two kind of physical, because Aaron Smith is tiny.
Yes.
And like you and I can sit here and bitch all we want, but he's on the team next year and probably in a top 4 to 5 wide receiver role.
Yep.
So you probably need 2 wide receivers with size.
Yep. You need 2 big bodies, and they're going to have to get creative in figuring that out. And then you go over to defense, and it's like, all right, we had 2 good games in a row. You have the game that was really a disaster into the final 2 drives. What do you make of this unit going forward? I expect Quinnen to be here. I expect JJ to be here. I expect Will McDonald to be here. I don't see that type of move happening. Quincy and Michael Carter, it's interesting. Like they bench Sherwood. I wonder if Kiko doesn't get a concussion, if Sherwood is on the bench for that entire game, and how much buyer's remorse they have right now. And if internally they're like, shit, I wish we just had a path to just having Quincy for the next year or 2 instead of Sherwood, because Sherwood, the compounding problem with Sherwood isn't that he's been bad. It's that he's a captain and he's had effort issues. And now clearly there's been something off the field because he got benched for some reason. We don't know exactly what, but it was something that seemed to be related to something off the field. Judging,
it didn't seem performance based.
It didn't seem performance based because he was actually okay the previous 2 weeks compared to the other games. And that's a problem you got to solve for, especially if Quincy's going to leave in free agency. That just leaves you with Sherwood. Kiko's a role player. I know they just claimed Kobe King, who was a guy they probably should have drafted instead of Kiko and got him as a UDFA. Doesn't really matter. Now they're both here, but that, is still going to be an issue. And then I'd like to see more from Quinnen down the stretch. I'm not going Joe Benigno crazy here. We love Quinnen. Quinnen does a lot of dirty work, and he's had a lot of good games this year that have flown under the radar. I know the stats are not popping, but I do think it's fair to be like, all right, let's not have 2 sacks this season. Let's have 6 sacks. Let's have a couple games where we don't allow 1,700 yards rushing to P. Ryan and Chase Brown. And you have Phillips next to you. You have Briggs. Like Jermaine's back. Like there should be a little more of a presence up front. And I think that's a fair expectation of him who's going to be here. And same for Jermaine and Will, right? Jermaine's playing now. I think he's making his impact. Like, let's see more of what you saw in that final drive where you got in Flacco's face. And for Will McDonald, let's have a little run here these last 9 games. Let's finish with 8, 9, 10 sacks. Let's not drop down from 11 to 4. I don't think he will. He's got 3 on the board now, but let's have a couple more big games. Those are the guys in my mind that they're going to be building blocks. They're going to be here next year. You want them to be comfortable in whatever version of this defense is going to be and start making playmakers. And same for Sauce even, right? Like Sauce, people are always going to get on him and nitpick every little play. He's still a great goddamn corner. He's still been their best overall player on the defense so far this season. Would love, for his sake and for the fan base's sake, get involved in a turnover or 2, man. Like, can we get like a bounce? Like Brownlee punches out a fumble, it bounces right to Sauce, and he runs one back for a touchdown. Like he needs that kind of moment or play, right? Revis had his 110-yard interception return. Like he had the funny pick 6 against Del Home. Like I want to see him get a couple of those plays overall, and that's what I'm looking for, man. Especially you get it teed up against the Browns, who the only offense in the NFL prior to the Bengals game that's worse than the Jets. I mean, that's a putrid offense. Go out and stamp them out like you did to the Broncos and Panthers, and let's see if you could build on something here. What what are your thoughts on this defense? Where do they go the rest of this year? Where do they go next year? How dire is this unit, or is it not really that dire at all?
No, I think it's dire. I think this unit has a lot of issues. Some can be corrected, and some I'm a little less optimistic on. Number one, Steve Wilks shouldn't be the defensive coordinator next year, and I don't
agree.
care.
No imagination.
There is his play calling in the game. Like the blitzes never get home. They're painfully obvious. This team.
I'm laughing thinking of Cisco's blitz in the first quarter. He's just chopping his feet. I was like, dude, what are we doing here?
Which running back? Wasn't it Chase Brown that picked him up? Like a small running back.
It's such a bad rep, man. I was like, oh, man.
Yeah. So, number one, Wilks shouldn't be the defensive coordinator. And you'd be surprised how many things would look better right away. But there are some personnel issues. I'm really happy Stevens has been playing better, especially in a big game like that. He deserves his flowers for that. And maybe Stevens is going to settle in nicely here. I'm really not as worried about him as I was. I do wonder, even though the age difference, if choosing Sherwood over Quincy was a colossal mistake. Because
sadly looking that way so far.
We saw how Quincy reacted to getting paid. Yeah. And now we've seen how Sherwood's reacted to getting paid. And it's stark to me. Quincy Williams loves running 100 miles an hour and hitting people. And he plays like that in training camp. He plays like that in games. It's why he gets hurt at times. But there's no denying that even when you get bad Quincy games, he's out there doing everything he can for a 220-pound linebacker. The problem with Sherwood is he's the same size as Quincy and half as fast. Yeah. So I think they have a Sherwood problem. There's just no denying it right now. There's really three pathways. I think one's not realistic. The first pathway is, assuming Quincy's not on this team next year, and he might not even be on the team after the deadline, you got to put a bigger linebacker, which Kiko is. That was probably part of the thought process. They probably just didn't want him playing that quick. You need to put a bigger linebacker and a bigger front next to Sherwood because he's just too small. And he doesn't play fast enough he's just very hot and cold with how fast he plays. Yeah. But when you're small and you have a moment where you're slow to read it, you're dead. A climber gets on you and you're 220 pounds against a 300-plus lineman, and you're dead. So they either need to put a bigger linebacker next to him, and I don't know how much that'll fix, but it's a start. Two, his dead money is a little bit more salvageable if he's traded rather than cut. Would Saleh or Ulbrich take him back in a 7th-round pick swap? The Jets, I believe, eat $10 million in dead money in 2026, and then it's kind of behind you and just be like, it was a mistake.
Yep,
we learned from it. We're happy that we're getting out of some of the money. The third one that I don't think is realistic is you cut him and you're eating a ton of dead money next year because you just got to hope he bounces back, man. That's too much money to eat on a guy not playing for you. I just don't think that's the right approach. You would keep him, and if he really stunk for a second year in a row, then you could actually bench him or have him play specials. But
it sucks we have to have this convo after 8 games, man.
It does suck, but it's very real. I think something's off.